So we're on to something, everybody, and we have really nice natural themes appearing in our gatherings. Um, One thing that could be really useful and beneficial is this discernment, this noticing when we're contracting, how we can be completely isolated into thought cycles, or how we can actually reorientate into awareness or the basis for those thoughts. So I was doing an example before using the space in between thoughts. So you're all invited right now, if you could just notice the space in between thoughts. So just stop thinking for a second and notice that space. And now you can go back to your thinking. And I did it in a very blatant, sort of obvious way where I said, trees are great. That's my thought. It's a very narrative, constructed thought. Trees are great. And then I'm going to have another thought. Water can be refreshing. So trees are great. Pause. Wait for it. Water is refreshing. So that space is very, very valuable to a yogi, to a contemplative, to anybody who wants some freedom in their mind, because we're breaking out of an electromagnetic confinement there. And this is visceral. It's apparent when the brain, you can feel the tension when we're in the thoughts, because there's a lot of blood activity happening, a lot of energy being expended when we're in the thoughts a lot. And so remember, this is not about deleting or getting rid of thoughts or becoming a non-thinker or anything like that. It's just that just like in the water, you can be stuck in a whirlpool, you can be stuck underneath a wave, and we can be stuck in our emotions, we can be stuck in our thoughts. And that's contracted consciousness, compartmentalized consciousness. But if you just imagine, or maybe you're already further along, you don't need to imagine, just recognize the vast, boundless spaciousness of your mind right now. Pure presence has no bounds. Bring it past the earth, past the sun, past the solar system. Go as far as you want. As long as we start to loosen up that contraction, because that contraction causes so much suffering for you and for other people. How can I be empathetic of you if you're telling me a story about something you're going through? If I'm sitting here contracted into my own thoughts while you're speaking and sharing, I'm blinding myself to feeling you. How can I love you fully if 80% of the time I'm thinking about myself? How can I play a guitar fully if I'm limiting my mind and my creativity to a band, no pun intended, within a spectrum of cognition? It's like saying I only know two chords, G and C. But then all of a sudden you get into scales and you learn all these other chords. You have the chord chart hanging on your wall. Now you can play all this music. It's like that. When we're only in the thoughts, we're only playing a few chords. And of course, you can make great songs with two chords. I know. But it's a metaphor. So anyway, that's openness. That's the theme of pure presence and ineffability. Of course, this text is about these four great qualities of your mind. It's beyond the words. We can't wrap it up. We can't combine it into a concept and pin it down into some kind of sentence. And mind is also vastly open in order to contain everything. It has to be like that. And so, pure presence, which is the theme that we're exploring now in this text, the way of abiding, uh, is the fourth time, timelessness. Any ideas about the past, present, or future are contained within awareness. So it's the fourth time. And we'll go right back to the root verses here. If you want more information, if you're at the live gathering, just check out the chat. Or if you're watching on YouTube, then it's going to be in the description of the video. And it says, another implication that can be discerned is that sensory consciousness, devoid of concepts, is empty. And here are the root verses. Awareness, the origin of everything, is spontaneously present with a lucid radiance. One implication of the five senses being uncontrived, without the coming and going of thoughts, is that spontaneous presence as enlightened intent is Dharmakaya, the simultaneity of awareness and emptiness. Recognize this, be decisive, and rest free of elaboration. Yeah, and at this point, Longchen was preaching to the choir because this is exactly what I was talking about. If you need to provisionally just imagine your mind as spacious, because we have built up psychic boundaries, walls, and you can feel those walls. The conditioned self is a wall. It's a sense of referentiality, dividing us from spaciousness. And so then you have layers where your natural lucidity is distorted. It's just contracted consciousness, essentially. And so you have the self, then you have, the self has feelings. I feel sad, or I'm a sad person, I'm a happy person, I'm a strong person, I'm a weak person, all these ideas. And so there's this conditioned self that's irrelevant to primordial purity, but it appears. And just like it appears in a dream within pure cognition. Pure cognition turns into something in a dream, and then it appears not to be pure. So on top of the conditioned self having emotions and thoughts, it has sense engagement. So I saw a bird, I'm eating a sandwich, all these things like that. And when you're saying I'm eating a sandwich, well, you're in that. It's not really a duality. It's a trichotomy, and even past the trichotomy, it goes even past that into the subdivisions, but we'll keep it at trichotomy. So it's got the subject, action, object happening, sandwich. And those are called the spheres of conception related to the ayatanas, and we can be isolated into electromagnetic spheres of conception. And so when you relax the senses, when you relax these spheres, they actually pop out like a little soap bubble almost. And now you can still eat the sandwich, don't worry. But you've recognized the basis for those three spheres, which correlate with all the senses, even the thoughts. There's the heart, there's feeling, there's something you're feeling about. There's the brain, there's thinking, there's something you're thinking about. Not saying all thoughts derive from the brain, but the brain is obviously a power organ when it comes to cognition. But there's a basis for the brain. Something grew the brain. Something maintains the brain. Something makes you insane in the membrane. Sorry, I had to do it. Okay, so here is really another wonderful correlation, because our mind is naturally spacious, but it's only because we go into these spheres that it doesn't seem that way. And so by effortless abiding, by leaving it alone, once you've seen awareness, now you can uh, effectively leave it alone. Now you can really leave things alone and be in true effortlessness. So if I'm eating the sandwich, I can leave all three of those spheres alone because I've seen awareness, I've seen the basis for the spheres. And when you're stuck in thought proliferation or rumination or imagination or any of those, then it's again, you're confined into spheres of conception. Then you drink some stimulants or something like that. Now you're on caffeine and you have your thought proliferation. So it's like living in fast forward. And it's very, very difficult to see awareness when the thoughts, because it's spinning up those spheres of conception and reifying them and solidifying them. So we're actually confined into a very rapid consciousness, rapid flowing consciousness with the coming and going of thoughts. So freedom, in my opinion, is if you can stop and start as you wish. What were we doing? I'm just kidding, Yoshi. Don't worry. I got this. I'm not that damaged yet. We'll get there. I'll stop in the middle of the sentence. Where are my pants? I can only hope and pray. So let's go into the auto commentary here. This is basically Longchen commenting on his poem. And it says, when the five kinds of sense objects manifest outwardly, one rests inwardly in the lucidity of naturally unsullied awareness, without becoming lost in the immediacy of the perceptions of sensory consciousness. Exactly what I just explained. So it says, this is the key point of purifying sensory consciousness in light of its emptiness and lucidity. And here Longchen citing a tantra, the great Garuda, states, the implications of the vast expanse in which nothing need be done, unsought and supreme, can be discerned without action or speech within the interval between form and emptiness. Oh, that's wonderful. We're getting into intervals too now. So you have a form right in front of you. For me, it's a drum. You can pick some kind of object. Go right ahead. Feel free to pick an object. I picked the drum. The interval here is awareness. Notice that that drum doesn't exist. If you look for where the drum exists or where your object exists, you keep taking it apart and taking it apart. You can't find where it actually exists, so it's empty. So between the appearance of the object and its emptiness, your awareness is permeating the whole thing. So another tantra is cited here. It says the six expanses states, in the nature of mind, free of ordinary mental processes, profound insight that entails no deliberation is revealed by me, Samantabhadra, to be enlightened intent, the resolution of coming and going. Now remember, it's called self recognizing, self cognition, because the mind is liberating itself by recognizing its own purity. And that's Rangjung. So Longchen goes on to say the supreme state of natural meditative stability is one of the implications that can be discerned. And next time we'll go through that, where we're talking about stabilizing within the view. And really, once you're stabilized in your own natural, purely present spaciousness, then there's truly nothing left to do. And you can go into pure effortlessness. But we like to verify that a little bit around here. because we throw people into the deep end. So we want to make sure that they're okay. Okay, well, thank you everybody for continuing to explore this with me. I always seem to notice new things, and it's just very impressive, the depth of these texts. It's amazing. So I appreciate you for hanging out. Now, are there any comments, questions, sharing before we check out today? Yes. Tal's
Okay.
keeping
I'm not trying to be pedantic here, but every time this where does the object exist thing come up, I get really confused. So my object was the laptop. And so when I look at the laptop and we say, where does the laptop exist? My brain goes, right here. I can see it. There it is, the laptop. And to me, it's like question answered, like, and so can you point
Yeah,
me somewhere?
question answers. It's right there. Right there in your mind. It's existing in your mind. You can't verify its existence anywhere else. And you say, well, how about this? I'll give myself a lobotomy. I'll take my brain out. Will the laptop still be there? Well, for me, it'll still be there in my mind.
Right.
Will it be there if all the people see? This is your existential side that you keep leaning into, which is fine. It's great. We all do it. But you're asking basically, if all the people were gone, would there still be a laptop? The answer is no. Is a, if there were no people, there would be no laptop. Now, so you could throw another one in there. Well, what about the mountain? Would the mountain be there if there were no people whatsoever? How would you ever know that if the mountain is there with no people? You can't verify that. There has always been somebody's mind, even if it's an amoeba.
I'll keep wrestling with that.
Letting it be revealed to you. Don't wrestle with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm wrestling with not resisting it, really.
Oh.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we grow up in a world that, I mean, we inherit and we subscribe to a subject-object world that there's an existential world, and we're a product of that existential world. That's why I like to cite Donald Hoffman, because he's a physicist and he's done the testing, and he's even saying that, you know what, we're most likely creating a proprietary reality that has nothing to do with the true nature. He says that the chances of this being the true nature of reality, what we're seeing and experience, is virtually zero. And that makes sense, because you take any introduction to psychology class and you find out that our mind is, our brain too, our mind is making up so much of this reality. Just
Yeah.
the fact that we can only see in 2D means that our mind is involved in every iota of this reality and rendering it and making it. So
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not disputing that mind does all of that, but isn't mind interacting with other stuff to do that?
yeah,
Okay.
because my mind isn't just the brain and the heart and the
Yeah.
body. Mind is all around us, but uh, I mean, what's the point in even recognizing that for a lot of people? I mean, when you go to sleep, you have a dream that you're in I don't know, a field of sunflowers, right? Why would you want to get out of that? Wouldn't you want to just keep on running through the field, even though it's only your own mind?
Yeah. Okay.
And there are some few people that say, you know what, this field's pretty awesome. And I love chewing on these sunflowers, but I want out. It's getting old.
Okay.
That's the convincing part, and I suppose there's no problem with it. We go to sleep, we have a dream that we're in a forest, and we don't mind that. Yeah, our mind's creating the forest, and we're walking around. It's beautiful, it smells good. And why do we one day? Why? It's probably because the forest is subject to impermanence. Well, one day we break out of that duality. Everybody does. Even the craziest criminals are on their way to enlightenment, in my opinion.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, philosophical inquiries. All right, any more brain busters? Yeah, Mimic, go ahead there.
Hello, can I go into a bit of conceptualization as an answer to Tal?
We haven't left conceptualization, and
Great.
nope. Yeah, I feel almost guilty about it right now. Go ahead.
So this is from my field of study, from cognitive science, where we speak a lot about how the mind extends into the world. And it's a really controversial view within materialist science, of course. But there's this really cool example with the paper that kind of started this idea that mind is everywhere, not just in the confines of the brain or the body. And the example is of two people, Otto and Inga, who are trying to get to the Museum of Art in New York. And Inga just knows where the museum is in her brain. She just has good memory and she thinks, okay, the museum is at this address. I'm going to walk to the museum and I'll get there. Whereas Otto has severe memory issues. So he uses a notebook to write everything down that he has to do. So in the notebook, he writes down the address and get to this address to get to the museum. And constantly, as he's walking outside, he checks his notebook to remember where he's supposed to be. And essentially, the point of the kind of philosophical story is to make you think that the notebook is sort of the mind of Otto extended into the world because it serves the same function that Inga's mind just does naturally within the confines of her body and brain. And there's more crazy kind of stories and scenarios that they paint in cognitive science and philosophy to sort of draw this idea that the mind doesn't even just stop at the body, at the brain. It just kind of pours outwards. Um, but it's still controversial in materialist science. People don't really like to think about that. And then when you think about phones, it gets even crazier. When you start to think about how a phone can be your mind extended into the world. And then it gets even crazier because it doesn't mean that my mind is the internet. And obviously within Dzogchen, the mind is everything. Yes. It's not, it's very simple.
Todd, did you want to respond to that, or are you good?
I have yet to see what's being pointed at, but I haven't stopped looking.
I think you've seen it.
Maybe. Maybe. I'm getting tripped up on words, clearly.
Are you thinking about stuff right now? You had to think about that too? Holy crap. You really are overthinking. I think you had some caffeine today.
No, I've had
Am
no
I thinking right now? Let me see. Am I thinking right now? That was awesome, man. I mean, you just know that you're thinking. There's a knowingness. Awareness is just sitting over here while you're like, where's awareness? Awareness is like, I'm right here. But no, there's nothing wrong with concepts and entertaining a valid cognition. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
We prioritize bare awareness here, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's how I've operated, at least for the past 2 years, is I can get into it conceptually with you if you want to.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. Even in the material world, it makes sense. It's completely logical. that there's a strong possibility. You don't have to ever say, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
But you can entertain that mind is propping up the mountains, the sky, the earth right now. A subtle part of my mind is propping up the environment as I'm navigating through it.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
Pretty simple.
I think the thing that's confusing me is I think I'm misinterpreting the claim to be something like the laptop doesn't exist.
It doesn't. Where does it exist at? When you look at the laptop,
Yeah.
Where's the laptop? Which part of it?
Though all of it is.
That's a false
not
statement.
interesting.
Well, yeah, we can. There's no problem with labeling aggregates.
Yeah.
Creating aggregates, no problem. So the aggregate of that's different than saying the laptop exists.
Okay.
Because you'd have to tell me where the laptop exists. Is it in the keys? Is it in the motherboard?
Right.
Is it in the hard drive?
Right. Yeah. And my response would be, well, it is the aggregate of all of those things that makes the laptop.
But the aggregate changes. In 1 year, this aggregate's going to be totally different if it's still here.
Yeah.
So you can't say even the aggregate exists.
Right. So we're talking about some sort of like absolute existence. No?
I generally don't assert existence or non-existence.
Okay.
The appearance, there's an empty appearance in front of you right now of a laptop. It's appearing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't say it's non-existent.
Yeah.
But we can't say it exists either. We just went through that.
Yeah.
So thus you have Madhyamacharya, you have the middle way.
Okay.
Things appear, but they don't exist. And we have to have very specific standards for what does it mean for something to exist.
Right. I think that's the core of my confusion is I'm probably conceptualizing existence in a different way.
In a traditional sort of how we all came up, yeah. And I'm challenging that, right? And you're challenging.
I want you to, because I want to get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pretend like I'm there, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally getting it. And I mean, it's reasonable. It's logical that things appear, yet they're not permanent. The appearing, anything that appears, whether it's a sound or something appearing as form, it's subject to impermanence. It doesn't exist by itself without the inheritance of the rest of the world. It needs minds, it needs elements, it needs everything. So in the Dharma, we have really specific standards for something to exist. It has to be permanent. It has to be uninfluenced by anything. So that means it has to exist in its own right. And it has to be not subject to destruction. Right?
Yeah.
The same thing is permanence. Basically, it can't be weathered at all.
So why, by those standards, nothing exists? So why would we talk about existence then?
Well, I just said they still appear, though,
Okay.
even though they don't exist.
Okay.
So I don't ever say nothing exists. In fact, some people translate the first of the Samayas as non-existence. I'm not down with that because you're asserting a tetralema. You're asserting an extreme when you say that these things don't exist. You want your friends to exist. You want your paintbrush to exist in the sense of appearing.
Yeah.
Things appear.
Yeah.
And the idea is that awareness, there's a basis for all appearances. And what ends up being revealed is that these appearances are alive. They're very much alive, just like the ancient animists would say, and shamans and many traditions. So when you look at form, particularly on a particulate level, it's all moving. Atoms, particles, it's all just this energy that's either contracted or not. And tightly packed energy is what we call form. But the form is still alive. It's still consciousness. It's conscious. So, yeah, Chimon, go ahead, join on in there.
Yeah, what helped me sometimes to understand that, because logically it's difficult for us to understand because our mind is somehow heavily conditioned. So sometimes we can understand intellectually. For example, if we see everything is an illusion, like or dream-like, then sometimes we think illusion don't exist. But if you think of a green elephant in the fridge, we know that green elephant in the fridge doesn't exist. But as an image or as an illusion, it actually exists. So that's helped me to understand where there is sometimes existence and non-existence. You cannot say there is existence, you cannot say non-existence. So there's the middle way.
Yeah.
And then in the Abhidharma, you can understand they explain it different because there is practically no past, no future, and the present you can't even find. So everything arises in every moment, moment by moment, everything arises and ceases and ceases. And the logic is also difficult to understand because how small is the moment, and you cannot find it really. So that becomes then a very intellectual discussion. And then I decided, well, it's all a concept, and I want to stay between the concept, no concepts, and I'm just happier.
Yeah. And speaking of Abhidhamma, when you guys fact check me and I give an enumeration, look at all the Google results because there are 52 mental factors. There's a 51 and a 52 enumeration. So, especially Yeshi, if you got my back on those, or Dorje Legpa, anybody who's helping me out, when you do a search, look at all the enumerations because we got that on video and making me look bad, man. Just kidding. But I was right about that. There was 52 mental factors, and that's like the fifth time that's happened. Where you guys are fact checking me incorrectly. That can't happen, guys. Really. All right. Because then we're gonna degenerate our entire group into ridiculousness. If you keep fact checking one of the hosts, one of the teachers, and giving them the wrong answers. All right, very good. So very nice sharings today. I'm glad we got a little into the concepts. There's nothing wrong with diving into it a little bit because we want to have grounding and logic and reason. Otherwise, we just have this like magical, everything's magic, and none of it makes sense. And it doesn't have to make sense. Just do your own thing. Told you, like I said, I'm down with that. I mean, it sounds so good, and it happens really. I mean, everybody has their own religion. Essentially, a lot of people nowadays have their own spirituality, their own religion, and it's fine. I think awareness can plug right into anything you're dealing with if you allow it. Okay, so any final thoughts? Yeah, I don't teach two truths in here, by the way. I saw that in the comment section. I know maybe some people that are into Dzogchen present it as two truths, but here it's where's the two truths? There's only one truth. Okay, everybody. Well, we will close out now, and I'll let you get about your day, and I hope you have a good one, no matter which part of the day that you're in. Getting the rest that you need, getting the friendship that you need, water and food and everything, health, happiness, and any benefit that has come from this gathering today. There are beings in this very presence that are suffering, and we give it all to them with a moment of silence. And deep bow to you, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care.